Hello everyone, this is Dr. Kankana. Today we are going to discuss a very important and interesting topic. We know one of the most important component, the cell component of blood is red blood cells. So today we'll be discussing the formation and development of red blood cells. So erythropoiesis means the formation and development of red blood cells. Erythropoiesis, it is a Greek word from where erythros means red and poiesis means making. So it means the formation of red blood cells. Now, there are different sites for the formation of red blood cells in the body, starting from the intrauterine life up to the adult life. That means intrauterine life means the life that a baby has before its birth inside the uterus of a mother. So, in the intrauterine life, that is from the third week up to the third month of intrauterine life, the site of red blood cell formation is within the blood vessels in the mesoderm of yolk cell. Now, from the third month to the fifth month of intrauterine life, it is the liver where maximum amount of red blood cells are formed, and also spleen. Now, from the fifth month of intrauterine life up to the birth and beyond the birth also, now comes the role of bone marrow. So we can see that from fifth month of intrauterine life, uh, the site for red blood cell formation is shifted from the liver and spleen to the bone marrow, and after birth the bone marrow takes a major role. So now in young children, the bone marrow of both the axial skeleton and the extremities takes part, and in adults it is usually the bone marrow of the flat bones and upper end of long bones. Now let us discuss about the genesis of RBC. That means from where these red blood cells are formed. So first we have the pluripotent stem cell from which all the blood cell components are formed. From there we get the committed stem cell of myeloid series. From there, we have the blast forming unit erythrocytes, that is the BFUE, blast forming unit erythrocytes. From there, we have the CFUE, which means the colony forming unit erythrocytes. CFUE, that is the colony forming unit erythrocytes. From there, we'll have the pronormoblast. Then we'll have the early normoblast. After that, we'll have the intermediate normoblast. Then the late or orthochromic normoblast. Finally, we'll have what we know as the reticulocyte. And then we'll have the mature red blood cells. So if we again recapitulate, so we'll see that the starting of the RBC cells, formation of the RBC cells is always the pluripotent stem cell. From there, we'll have the committed stem cell of myeloid series. From there, we'll have the blast forming unit erythrocytes, then the colony forming unit erythrocytes. From there, we'll get the pronormoblast, the early normoblast, the intermediate normoblast, the later orthochromic normoblast, the reticulocyte, and finally we'll have the mature RBCs. Now we know that when there is this changes from the pluripotent stem cell to ultimately up to the reticulocyte and then to the mature RBCs, there is a lot of changes that takes place in the cell in relation to its size, to its cytoplasm, nucleus, then the presence or absence of hemoglobin, which is the red pigment found in the red blood cells, and also nucleolus. So to understand this better, if we plot these changes in a chart according to the stages, we'll be able to understand it better. Also, we'll be able to remember it better. So here you can see the chart where we have in the left side the stages, and in the right side we have the size, then the changes in the nucleus, then in the changes in the cytoplasm in relation to the presence or absence of hemoglobin, the staining that the cytoplasm will take, and finally whether mitosis is present or not. So do you know mitosis means the cell division, whether it is present in that particular stage or not. So first is the stem cell, that is the homocytoblast. You can see the size is quite big. It's 19 to 23 micron. Then nucleus is very large. Almost it will occupy the whole of the cell. It is deeply basophilic. Now what is basophilic? Okay, basophilic means uh, base loving cell. Uh, that's a philic means love, and love for basic dye. That means deep basophilic. And it will have around 4 to 5 nucleoli. Then hemoglobin is absent. Staining, as I have already told you, it will be deep basophilic. That means base loving, and mitosis is present. Then coming to the pronormoblast or the proerythroblast, you can see the size is gradually decreasing, 15 to 20 micron now. Nucleus is still very large, it is central, it is deeply basophilic, and you will find fine reticular chromatin in the nucleus. And also now you can see the nucleoli are also decreasing, it is 2 to 3 in number. Hemoglobin is still not present. The cytoplasm becomes scanty and deeply basophilic, and mitosis is still present. Then comes the early normoblast. You can see the size reducing further to 12 to 16. Nucleus is large. Now here the chromatin strands will become thicker and coarser. And in this stage the nucleoli will finally disappear. Hemoglobin is still absent, and the staining of the cytoplasm is still basophilic, and mitosis is present. Next is the intermediate normoblast. The size is decreased further to 10 to 14. Now the nucleus here has become condensed, and it has become condensed, coarse, and basophilic. Nucleoli, as you have seen in the early normoblast, it has already disappeared. Now the most important thing that you have to remember in this stage is that hemoglobin appears. Hemoglobin appears in the intermediate normoblast stage. Now, with the appearance of the hemoglobin, here the staining of the cytoplasm will become acidophilic with little basophilic hue. That means little bit of basophilic hue will be present, but maximum it will be acidophilic. Philic means love again, and acid means the acid color. Okay, the acid. So it becomes it is acidophilic with a basophilic hue, which will give it a polychromatic color in nature. And mitosis is present, but slightly present. You can see it from the 2 plus until it become 1 plus. Now next is the late normoblast. Here the size is decreased further. Nucleus has become small, pycnotic with dark chromatin. That is the cartwheel appearance, and nucleoli is absent. Now hemoglobin has increased here in number. The basophilic hue has disappeared. It's only acidophilic, that is acid loving. And here in this stage the mitosis has completely disappeared. Now after this is the reticulocyte stage. Here the size is decreased further to 7 to 7.5 micron. Nucleus is absent completely now, and there is a with the supravital stain, that is the brilliant crescile blue, remnants of RNA appear in the form of reticulum in the cytoplasm. That means now, since nucleus is not present, you can only see RNA, which can be seen in a form of a reticulum, that is like a net, with the help of supravital stain. Example is brilliant crescile blue. So now what is supravital stain, we'll talk in another class. Here again now you can see the hemoglobin has increased further. Then the staining is acidophilic, and the mitosis is absent. So if you can draw this chart, it will be very easy to remember the stages. Now coming to the regulation of erythropoiesis. So first we'll discuss the general factors. So the most important general factors is hypoxia. What is hypoxia? It is the lack of oxygen at tissue level. It is the most potent stimulus for production of RBC. Its action is mediated by erythropoietin. So now number 2 in general factors is erythropoietin. So now what is erythropoietin? Erythropoietin, it is a glycoprotein secreted by the juxtaglomerular apparatus of the kidney. 85%, and from the liver and tissue and macrophage system 15%. And it plays a huge role in the formation of red blood cells. Actually, when we say that it is produced from the kidney, the erythropoietin, actually from the kidney, instead of the erythropoietin, there is a erythropoietic factor which is produced in the kidney. Now, from the liver, there is a protein which is formed, which is known as erythropoietinogen. Now, this erythropoietic factor, which is secreted by the kidney, will act on this erythropoietinogen to ultimately convert it into erythropoietin, which is the active form. So, as you can see in the chart here, you can see that there is a hematopoietic stem cell. Then here you can see the proerythroblast. It's then changing into red blood cells. And we know one of the important function of the red blood cell is to carry oxygen to the tissues. Now, when there is decrease in the tissue oxygenation, which can be because of a variety of factors, that is, number one, low blood volume in the body, anemia, low hemoglobin, poor blood flow, or because of any pulmonary diseases. Because of any of these five factors, if there is a decrease in oxygenation, that means decreased oxygen is supplied to the tissue. Now, this will cause a stimulation to this formation of erythropoietin. Now, this erythropoietin will act in the step from where hematopoietic stem cells are converted to proerythroblast or the early normoblast, and it will give a boost to the formation of this formation, that means conversion of this hematopoietic stem cell to proerythroblast, and then finally reticulocyte, and then mature RBC cells. So the erythropoietin, it exerts its chief effect on the stem cells, causing them to differentiate. It also promotes hemoglobin synthesis by increasing the globin synthesis. Erythropoietin also promotes in the every stage of maturation of the RBC genesis, that is from the pro-normoblast stage up to the mature red blood cells formation. Also, erythropoietin, it promotes the release of RBCs from the bone marrow into the peripheral circulation. So this is how the erythropoietin acts. Number one, it will exert its chief effect on the stem cell, causing them to differentiate. Number two, it will promote hemoglobin synthesis. Number three, it will promote the every stage of maturation in the formation of the red blood cells. Then it will also promote release of the RBCs from the bone marrow into the peripheral circulation. So the other factors which will increase the erythropoietin secretion are hormones, that is androgen, thyroxine, growth hormone, prolactin, ACTH, and adrenocortical steroids, hemolysates, and also nucleotides like cyclic AMP, NAD, NADP. So in the screen, you can see the other factors which will increase the erythropoietin secretion. The number one was hypoxia, and these are the other factors. Now, factors which decrease the erythropoietin secretion are adenosine antagonists like theophylline. Then estrogen decreases the erythropoietin secretion by decreasing the synthesis of globin in liver and also by depressing the erythropoietic response to hypoxia. So this was the general factors which will help in the genesis of RBCs. Now coming to some special maturation factors. So here we have three: vitamin B12, intrinsic factor of Cassel, and folic acid. Vitamin B12 is necessary for the synthesis of DNA and maturation of nucleus and the cell. Intrinsic factor of Cassel and folic acid are also necessary for DNA synthesis. And in later classes, you will come to know that when this three maturation factors, special maturation factors, that is vitamin B12, intrinsic factor of Cassel, and folic acid, when they are absent from the body or their amount is decreased, then the body will have some special type of anemia, that is decrease in the red blood cells or in the count of hemoglobin or both. So we'll be discussing this in the later classes. So now finally, the maturation of a reticulocyte into an erythrocyte. A reticulocyte spends 1 to 2 days in bone marrow and circulates for 2 days in the peripheral blood before maturing in the spleen to become a biconcave red cell. The reticulocytes are also found normally in the peripheral blood. Normal range of the reticulocytes in healthy adults is 0.5 to 2%, and in infants it is 2 to 6%. And the abnormal increase in the circulating reticulocytes is called the reticulocytosis. So to sum up, it takes around 7 days for the formation and maturation of red blood cells. Till the stage of reticulocyte formation, it takes place in 5 days, and to become matured red blood cell from the reticulocyte, it takes another 2 days. So a total of 7 days. So here we can come to an end. Here we come to an end of the discussion of what is erythropoiesis, then what are the sites of erythropoiesis, then the genesis of RBCs, the steps, the various steps starting from the pluripotent stem cell, coming up to the reticulocyte, and then finally forming the red blood cells. The amount of time taken for the entire cycle to complete, and finally the factors responsible for erythrogenesis. So thank you everyone. My reference books are Guyton and Hall Physiology and Textbook of Medical Physiology in Kurana. Thank you so much.